The March 7th, 2018 meeting of the Windsor Planning Commission will now come to order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Gail Schick.
Present.
Victor Talon.
Here.
Charles Schinner.
Here.
Jerry Bushelman.
Here.
Tim Annable.
Here.
Travis Yingst.
Here.
Daniel Foreman.
Here.
Town Board Liaison Ken Bennett.
Here.
Thank you. First item is review of the agenda itself by the Planning Commission for any addition of items or new business to be added.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the agenda as written. Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Talon, seconded by Commissioner Schinner, that we approve the agenda as presented. Those in favor of the motion will vote yes. Those opposed, vote no. Motion carries unanimously. Next item is the public invited to be heard. If there is someone in the audience who wishes to speak to the commission tonight about an item that is not on tonight's agenda, now is the time to do so. And if you wish to come to the podium, then you will have a 3-minute time frame to give us the information that you're wanting to present to us. And there is a red light, green light, yellow light on the podium there to give you an idea of when your 3 minutes is up. The yellow light, I believe, has been replaced, is working.
It actually needed to be reset, but
Okay.
it should be working now.
So you'll have the green light for 3 minutes. When it turns red, you have to stop. So. Just kidding. So if there's anyone who wishes to present something to the commission that's not on the agenda, now's the time to do so. Seeing there be none, we'll move along to the next item, which is the consent calendar. And tonight's consent calendar consists of the approval of the minutes of the February 21st, 2018 meeting.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes of the February 21st meeting. Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Talon, second by Commissioner Schinner, that we approve the minutes of the February 21st, 2018 meeting as presented. Those in favor of the motion will vote yes. Those opposed, vote no. The motion carries unanimously. Moving into our board action items, the first item we have is a site plan presentation. River Valley Crossing Subdivision, first filing, Lot 4. Melissa, you got the floor.
A site plan presentation for the River Valley Crossing Subdivision. It's a Burger King restaurant. It's a qualified commercial site plan, and it'll be reviewed in accordance with Article 9 of Chapter 17 of the Municipal Code. The site is located at Main Street and 16th, the southwest corner. It is zoned general commercial and is surrounded by other general commercial property. The site itself is about an acre, just over an acre in size. It's a 3,443 square foot building that would be located toward the Main Street side. It's got 41 parking stalls, 26 are required, so it's in excess of the minimum, and 43% is landscaped. There is a berm along the Main Street side. You'll still be able to see the building, but it's also pretty well landscaped to soften that building facade. It's got vegetation along, I should say that it also has a drive-through. The drive-through goes on around the building on the north and then back down. And there's some vegetation along that drive-through to help screen. It's evergreens along here. There's also some evergreen screening along the parking along the private drive and also on 16th Street that will help shield those headlights from those areas. Here's a color rendering of the site. You see Main Street up here, 16th Street, and you come into the site either at this location or over here to the west, and then through the drive-through. 2 options, and then it comes around. And the site's, or the building here, obviously. So the building characteristics, it is a brick facade. It's got 2 kinds of brick. The main field is one kind of brick, It's like a lighter version of the tans, and then the lower brick, you can kind of see the tones over here a little bit better, is a darker tan. It's got this siding here that's in a cedar color. So it's like a reddish, kind of a wood color. And then we've also got some red ceramic tile around the entryway and some metal awnings here. It's about 18 feet high. It's got a flat roof, but the roof is somewhat varied to give it a little more detail. And I mentioned the drive-through. Here's the south elevation. So here's the Main Street elevation, the north elevation, the drawing, and then the color rendering. And here's the south elevation facing the parking. And then we've got the east elevation. That's the one that'll be facing 16th Street. The west elevation does have some landscaping, and it's also facing up to the Christian Brothers Automotive, so it's not as viewable from Main Street as the others are, or as the other two. And I do have a little bit of the materials samples. This cedar's probably coming out a little tanner than what it was on the screen, so pardon that, it's got a more red tint to it, but not like a bright red. The tiling, again, that's only around the entryway door and a little bit on the top, and the two tones of the brick, and then the a silver color for the awning. So this, again, is for your information. It's a site plan review. The applicant here is here. His name is Rick Hartman, and if you have any questions that I can't answer for you, he would be happy to step in and give you some more information.
Okay. Could you back up to the, right there, yeah. Any one of those is fine. The siding there where it's currently white, is that going to be white? Or is that,
What kind of siding is this?
well, what color is it? Where it's showing white, is that going to be white?
Up here
On
or right
the
here?
Lower one,
Basically all around the window, you know?
all around.
Oh, around the window?
No.
No.
The windows, all around the windows, and I
think
guess
it's
it shows
yellow.
that's gonna be brick, maybe?
It's the blonde brick, I think, is what you're,
Right here?
the primary building.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that is the lighter tan brick. And then and a darker tan brick will be along
Okay,
the
so
base
that-
here. Yeah, so
that'll
here's
be
the
it.
brick.
Basically two colors,
Of
two
brick.
different colors of brick.
And so it'd be a
Okay,
lighter
Okay.
tan brick, and then the wainscot would be a,
yeah, because the rendition that you had there with that being white, it
right,
just don't look right.
right. It does come up a little paler than
Yeah.
what the
So,
samples are.
okay. But that's the only question I have. Anyone else have any questions, comments?
Question, you mentioned a berm between Main Street and the drive.
Right.
How tall is that berm?
It's only like under 3 feet. It's just that somewhat, it's under 3 feet.
Under
It's just
3
a
feet?
mound to have, and a little bit of the landscaping on top.
And then this is, okay, never mind. Thanks.
Mr. Dillon?
Just a little history here, where we got the new emergency care, that used to be the Burger King, so,
Oh,
A
right,
long time ago.
so.
Welcome back.
What a
Burger
hurry.
King.
Yeah, so,
right.
I just kind of
That was
laughed,
a
you know,
Burger
it's a
King?
round
Yeah.
table here.
Better try it
You
again.
can get a side of
I
chili.
remember that. One other
Charles?
question. The mechanical on the roof, is that screened?
That is screened. There is a little bit on the drawings here where you can't see so closely, but it kind of indicates where they are behind the fascia or the cornice or
Okay, mostly
whatever.
screened.
Parapet, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
Do you have a yellow highlighter so we can see what it looks like when the sun's rising?
The sun's rising? Sunset would be nice too, but no. Oh, I see what you're saying, the bright blue stormy sky, okay. All right, I'm catching on.
Okay, anyone else? Comments? Good. Okay, looks good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to our next item, which is a preliminary standard site plan for Jacoby Farm, seventh filing tracks A and B. Melissa, you got the floor again.
Yes, thank you. So this is slightly different from the last one. It is a preliminary standard site plan. This is for some townhome project in the Jacoby Farm it's currently the second filing, but it will be the 7th filing eventually. This site plan is reviewed in accordance with Article 7 of Chapter 17. The site is located at the southeast corner of Jacoby Road and 17th. Grand Avenue, I realize this is probably, could have been updated a little bit. Grand Avenue has been built out to 17th now, and a lot of these homes have been built, so apologize for that. The site is zoned RMU, which is residential mixed use, and that allows for a mix of residential densities and then also some commercial or non-residential uses mixed in there. To the south is general commercial. That was the old Walmart site, and then over down this way is the King Super site. It is for townhomes on both of the sites. The sites were planned for multifamily when the Jacoby Farm second subdivision went through, and a density was allocated to them. So this is following the idea for multifamily on the sites. It's about 5 acres total, both sites together. The north site's a little larger, it's about 2.8 acres. The south is about 2.3. 61 townhomes on both, 31 on the top, or the north one, and 30 on the south. They are a mix of either biplex, sixplex, or sevenplex. And I'll get to that a little later in the presentation. They have pitched roofs and wood siding, asphalt shingles. They all have 2-car garages, and they're 30 feet in height. And I want to make that clarification because at one point I had 34 feet in height, and there's been a decision that they lowered the pitch of the roof a little to allow for just 30-foot height buildings. I think I corrected them most places, but if I missed that, I apologize. They do have common spaces, parking areas, and access drives. And I did want to note that the purpose was to put the buildings along the edge of the site, and then there is one in the middle too. So it's not a building in the center with parking lot around it, it's the buildings on the outside with the parking on the inside. There's 164 parking spaces between the two. It's the 2-car garages, and then there's excess parking spaces for guests. It's a parking ratio about 2.7 per space or per unit, and our regulations request 1.5 minimum. There are park and school dedications that were completed with the Jacoby second, so they've already taken care of those needs for the residential. Here's a little closer look at the Tract A, which is on the north side. I do want to say that the intention is to townhome lots, and that would be a major subdivision. Unfortunately, going through the process, one of the newspaper ads of the 2 that we need to put in didn't quite make the 10-day mark for the neighborhood meeting, so we have to repeat that, and then we have to wait 30 days. So at this point in time, we're moving ahead with the site plan in case there's any major concerns or anything that you want to see changed, so that can be addressed before it comes into final. So I just want to let you know that. So again, this one has the 31 townhomes, the parking spaces, 2 per garage plus 22 surface. The accesses are off of Stoll and also Grand Avenue. And then it's also got some access to the sidewalk system from the interior. There's a south lot. This abuts the trail system down here. There is a proposed for some fencing in here to keep it some kind of definition and also some safety aspects to it, but does have access to the trail system. And again, this one has 30 townhomes and the 2 per garage and 22 surfaces. And same with the accesses off of Stoll and Grand Avenue. The landscape plan to give you some idea of how that will flush out, and it also has some, landscaping to ensure some of the headlights would be screened from neighbors. For example, this and over here as well. Here are the building elevations. Again, a 5-plex, 6-plex, and 7-plex mix. The buildings the attempt was to put them into some kind of a farmhouse kind of theme, enough to match the farmhouse kind of idea for Jacoby Farm, so that's why you're seeing this kind of style and the use of the wood siding and the asphalt shingles. For the comprehensive plan conformance, it does meet several aspects of the comprehensive plan. It is an area that is currently served by town infrastructure and services. It's an infill development. It's completing a neighborhood that's already underway, and it's also adjacent to the town core. For residential areas framework, it also has that diversity of housing types and sizes in the coordinated land use planning and zoning. And it's a high density or relatively high density residential development near the downtown and a commercial center. So the recommendation is that the Planning Commission approve the preliminary site plan with the condition that all remaining Planning Commission and staff comments are addressed in the final site plan application. I should add this first. Staff requests that the following be entered into the record: the application, the supplemental materials, the staff memorandum and supporting documents, and the recommendation. The applicant's representative, Kathy Mathis, is here, and I believe the applicant is here too. Great. Russell Baker is here too, if there's any questions that you have of them or that I can't answer.
Okay, Kathy, you have anything additional to add? Okay. Questions, comments from the commission?
Just curious, Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
are these rentals or going to be sold?
They will be for sale.
The quick question, the parkland dedication was in the second filing. How far away is that from this filing?
This will be the 7th, but it has a lot to do with the Jacoby Farm. It's quite a large area. It includes the whole area that has King Soopers, the old Walmart. I think you remember Les Schwab came in, and it's got the whole residential area up between Jacoby and off of 17th all the way to, I think it's the 13th it goes. Okay. So it's been through some filings since then, and it has taken a little while to develop over time. So we will be at the 7th version of that, and that's for the townhoming and not changing the larger lot size.
Yeah, you don't see too many old guys out there on the jungle gym, so.
Yeah. Oh wait till you see Water Valley. Man. It's got like 25.
Mr. Dowling, you have a question? Charles.
So, I have a personal sense of loss of that forest that was out there in this area. That was probably one of the densest areas in Windsor, off Poudre River. So I'd like to encourage lots of trees in this area to kind of supplement that. It's not a requirement, it's just a request.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments, questions?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the preliminary site plan subject to the conditions as stated by staff.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Talon, seconded by Commissioner Hannibal, that we approve the preliminary site plan subject to the conditions that were defined by staff. Those in favor of the motion will vote yes. Those opposed, vote no. And the motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Next agenda item is a preliminary subdivision for Chimney Park Subdivision, 4th filing. Carlin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner. As stated, this is a preliminary plat for Chimney Park 4th filing. It's currently Chimney Park 3rd filing, and with this proposal, this is the 4th filing, has been reviewed in accordance with section 17.410 of the municipal code regarding major subdivision application. There will be a subdivision of more than 6 lots. The proposal is for 15 townhome lots. The site's located east of Town Hall and east here of Chimney Park, north of Chestnut Street, south of the railroad spur and Walnut, and just west of State Highway 257. The zoning in this area is varied. There's a combination of high intensity industrial to the north, lumberyard, and the old Great Western sugar plant industrial light. This is an auto repair. And this is an existing single-family neighborhood in Chimney Park, here, of course, to the west. The site plan proposes a total of 51 townhome lots with 6.5 acres. There are 4 tracks, and 3 of those tracks are for additional garage spaces for those townhome owners, as well as 1 tract for open space and landscaping. This layout here shows how those lots would be configured. These tracks up here are for the additional garage spaces. This also serves as a buffer along the Great Western Railroad spur here. All of the units will be facing Chestnut Street, and there's an internal drive that serves all of the units here with some open space in the middle. And then these lots here have rear yards that will look out on the park to the west. The proposal is consistent with several areas of the comprehensive plan, including growth framework, maintaining the character of the community while accommodating future growth that is fiscally and environmentally responsible, prioritizing new growth in areas served by town infrastructure and services, and incentivizing infill development, which this is, to complete a neighborhood using existing resources and develop new neighborhoods adjacent to the town core. Further, this proposal supports diverse housing and residential neighborhoods to meet the needs of varying family sizes, lifestyle, and income levels, and fosters a diversity of housing types and sizes through coordinated land use planning. It's also near downtown, commercial centers, mixed-use nodes, also recreation. There was a neighborhood meeting, which is required for a major subdivision. That was held on January 25th, and we had 1 neighbor in attendance that only had offered positive feedback. Staff is recommending that the Planning Commission approve the preliminary major subdivision as presented, with the condition that all remaining staff comments and any Planning Commission comments are addressed with the final subdivision application. Staff requests that the following be entered into the record: the application, supplemental materials, staff memo, supporting documents, and the recommendation. And the applicant, Mike Zaff, is here, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Does the applicant or representative have any further information to present? Comments, questions from the commission?
Mr. Chair. Yeah, I live over in that area, and that area that's been kind of a sore spot for dumping and all that, so it's gonna be nice to be able to clean that up. Just hope those people, the trains aren't too bad on them when they come in, but now at least we got the whistle not blowing it, so. But, I think that's gonna be a good improvement on that area for us, so.
Yeah.
And with that, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the preliminary subdivision, subject to the following conditions as stated by staff.
Second.
And moved by Commissioner Talon, excuse me, second by Commissioner Schinner, that we approve the preliminary subdivision subject to the condition noted by staff. Those in favor of the motion will vote yes. Those opposed vote no. And motion carries unanimously. Okay, moving on to the Next item, which is preliminary site plan, Chimney Park Townhomes, Chimney Park Subdivision, fourth filing, Lot 1. Carlin.
Thank you. This is the same site. This is the site plan proposed for the fourth filing of Chimney Park. It would be Lot 1. The preliminary site plan was reviewed in accordance with Section 17.7 of the Municipal Code regarding site plans, in addition to the criteria for multifamily site plans. Just noting that this is a preliminary site plan and the final site plan will be back before the Planning Commission. Same location. The existing conditions shown here, the lumber yard to the north. As Commissioner Talon mentioned, there has been some illegal dumping going on. There's also been complaints of basically activity that shouldn't be going on. Let's see, to the west is a regional detention area that our engineers are working on, and this project will help complement that effort. Additionally, there was a structure that was located, I believe it's in this area. It's a large pad of concrete that was associated with the sugar plant. That will be removed. The view to the east of the auto repair, and then southeast here of the single-family neighborhood, and a view to the west of the park and more single-family. And this is where that regional retention area is. The proposal, 51 townhome lots for 51 units. There's a combination of 5 and 6 unit buildings. I'm sorry, 4, 5, and 6 unit buildings for a total of 7, 4 units, 1 5 unit, and 3 6 units for 11 buildings. There are 3 and 4 bedroom townhomes proposed, ranging in size from 1,759 square feet to 2,140. All the units do include an unfinished basement. They also include a 2-car garage with 2 spaces behind that garage for additional parking. On the plan, it's shown as 23 surface parking spaces for guest parking, and the required is 7 spaces, with this 1 guest space per 8 dwelling units. So in addition to those 23 guest parking spots, they also each have 2 spaces behind the garage for guests. So a total of 265 spaces, only 109 are required. That ratio is 5.2 spaces per unit. There are also additional garage bays available along the northern side of the property. Those will be, I believe, for sale or for rent bays, and there's 38 of those. 58% of the area is common area with 27% landscaped. Again, here's the layout and land use chart to the left here. This is the landscape plan, again, just showing that these units will be fronting this street here. They'll have walkouts, and then the garages or doors are located interior. And these are the garage, the extra garage units up here.
That
These
must have
are-
been a winter landscape plan.
The winter, not green, yeah, not a colored elevation here, or a colored drawing. And we also, at this time, there are not colors proposed, but they will be earth tones generally consistent with the neighborhood. There's a combination of stone and different siding, both vertical and horizontal, varying roof lines. And all the units will have covered entries as well as covered porches. And these section drawings just show how there will be 3 levels to each of the units. And again, each of them having an unfinished basement. The same comprehensive plan goals pertain to this application, so I will not repeat them, but this proposal is compliant with Chapter 5B of the Growth Framework Plan, residential areas framework, again, supporting the need of varying housing products, and also the fact that this is an infill site close to downtown, commercial, mixed node, and recreation. And therefore, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission approve the preliminary measure. Actually, it should be site plan, and that all Planning Commission and staff comments are addressed with the final site plan application. Staff requests that the following be entered into the record: the application, supplemental materials, staff memo, supporting documents, and recommendation.
Okay, thanks, Carolyn. When the final rendition of the agreed-to colors are agreed to, that'll be brought back before the board to take a final look at.
Yes,
Okay.
since this is preliminary, you will see it one more time.
Okay. Questions, comments? Charles?
Question, with that many parking spaces, is that all for homeowners or residents in that area? Meaning is no outside folks can rent a garage in there?
Right, maybe I'll have the applicant touch on that.
Yes, please.
Come on.
If you would give us your name and address for the record.
Mike Zaff, 1855 East Seadrift in Windsor. So those tracks back there are gonna be deeded for sale. So they'll be deeded for sale to the homeowners in there.
To just the homeowners or to anybody?
Well, they could potentially be sold to outside people outside of there, because if we did have 19 units there and they weren't absorbed by the homeowners, they would sit vacant.
Right.
So but they are planned on being separately deeded, not rented.
Okay. And those are just single car garages, double car?
They're kind of geared, so if somebody had a boat, they'll be a little bit deeper. They are single, they'll be about 12-foot wide garage
Gotcha.
doors. Yeah, so to kind of try and keep that stuff off the streets and stuff there,
Right.
so try and keep it a little nicer.
That's a good buffer between that and the railroad.
It's tough, because that's a tough place to build with that lumberyard right above it and the railroad tracks. We didn't know what to do and the best way to handle it. Couldn't put houses up against it, so.
Yeah. So, one other question, are you concerned at all on the units closest to the railroad track on noise, or are you doing something different in construction?
I'm not. The actual functioning track is on the other side of the lumberyard. That's just a spur, and all they do is store lumber cars there once in a while. So it's not a train that's actually running through. It's just a holding spur. So I'm probably more concerned about moving the lumber at night over there from the lumberyard. That's probably our biggest concern right now, but we feel that the buffer would be good enough that we can.
Is there any noise abatement?
Well, the units, there will be a fence. There will be a fence, and the whole property, I don't know if you've been on that land at all, but it does sit a little bit lower. So it's kind of up the hill, and then we'll have the fence back on the back side of the garages, so.
Any other questions, comments? I had a question for staff. There was no parkland dedication for this item?
The parkland was previously dedicated with, the Chimney Park subdivision. I don't know the timing of that, but, they do not have park fees associated with this.
So I could fill in on that.
Why don't you give us the input there?
So the regional detention pond was part of this property at one time.
Okay.
That was, traded for parkland and detention pond area. So, because the regional, that was an ideal spot and really not, it's kind of a very triangular shaped property. So, it was a trade.
There is a development agreement that addresses that.
Okay.
No,
Yes,
Mr.
questions, comments?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the preliminary site plan, subject to all conditions as stated by staff.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Talon, second by Commissioner Schenner, that we approve the preliminary site plan subject to conditions listed by staff. Those in favor of the motion will vote yes. Those opposed, vote no. And motion carries unanimously. We will now close our regular meeting, open up a public hearing for final major subdivision of the Ridge at Harmony Road, subdivision second filing. Paul, get the floor.
Mr. Chair, for the record, I would like to disclose that I'm a sitting member of the town board and I am here in my capacity as a non-voting liaison to the Planning Commission. Although I will be present during this public hearing, I will not be giving my opinion or participating in the discussion. I will not let tonight's proceedings influence or affect my review of this matter when it comes before the town board. I will make my decision at the town board level based only on the evidence presented during the town board public hearing.
Okay, thanks, Ken. We were wondering about that. Okay, Paul.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chair, Planning Commissioners. This major subdivision has been reviewed in accordance with Article 4, Chapter 17 of the Municipal Code. The site is located north of Harmony Road between County Road 13 and County Road 15. Current zoning of the property is RMU, residential mixed use. The subdivision encompasses approximately 283 acres and entails 252 single-family lots. The average lot size is around 7,500 square feet. There will be a Town of Windsor public park site dedicated with this plat. It's a 3.4 acre site, and adjacent to that is a 10-acre Windsor RE4 school site for future school development. In addition to those items, there are 4 future development tracts totaling 164 acres. So tract N and some of these tracts closer along Harmony for future development. It's also a 10-acre tract to allow for future oil and gas development. Off-site improvements will include improvements to Harmony Road, including the widening to 4 lanes with a landscape median, as well as other improvements to County Road 13. There was a neighborhood meeting held with this proposal in April of last year, and a summary of that meeting is enclosed in the packet materials. The application is consistent with the comprehensive plan, particularly the goal from Chapter 5B, Growth Framework. It is also consistent with the strategic plan, particularly the safe, well-planned community with spirit and pride. Notification was sent for this public hearing and the neighborhood meeting in accordance with the municipal code to property owners shown on the map. Staff recommends Planning Commission forward to Town Board a recommendation of approval subject to the following conditions. The applicant shall enter into a development agreement with the town prior to recording of the subdivision plat, and all outstanding staff comments on subdivision plat, improvement drawings, and related documents shall be addressed prior to recording of the subdivision plat. Finally, staff requests the following be entered into the record: application, supplemental materials, staff memo, supporting documents, all testimony received, and the recommendation. With that, that's all I have for you.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Since this is the public hearing portion of the process, is there anyone in the audience who has any comments or questions pertaining to this agenda item? If you do, if you could come to the podium, give us your name and address and your 3 minutes of information.
Move to close public hearing.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Talon, second by Commissioner Bushelman, that we close the public hearing. Those in favor of the motion will vote yes. Those opposed, vote no. And motion carries. We will reconvene our regular meeting, opening up the next item, which is a recommendation to the town board for final major subdivision of the Ridge and Harmony Road subdivision, second filing. Paul?
Nothing to add, sir.
Comments, questions from the commission?
Chair?
Yes, sir.
So was there any referral comments back from the town of Timnath?
I don't recall exactly what those comments may have been. Is there a particular item you were concerned about?
They were concerned about the development to the north of this one previously. I was just wondering if that same concern had gone away or was the same, or?
We've worked with them in terms of improvements to the surrounding roads. So beyond that, can't really address concerns they may have.
Okay. So, maybe it's too early, but is there a traffic light plan for County Road 13 in Harmony then?
Not directly associated with this development, but I believe there's one kind of in the works long term.
It's also in the works because you got one on 15, right? County Road 15 has one. With that volume of traffic and cross traffic there, that
Right.
seems to be.
Yeah, and actually, on a separate project, we did get notification that Timnath has plans for that signal, and they'll be working with our engineering department.
Okay, cool.
Because the county line road at this location is in Timnath, actually.
Right. Yeah, okay, that's good because you're putting a whole bunch of traffic trying to, not everybody wants to turn right. I don't know why, but it's just a safety thing.
Mr. Chair, I move that we forward to the town board a recommendation of approval subject to the conditions of staff.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Talon, second by Commissioner Hannibal, that we forward a recommendation of approval to the town board, subject to the conditions listed by staff. Those in favor of the motion will vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Mr. Talon?
Motion carries unanimously. Okay, moving on to our next item, which is a preliminary subdivision for Rain Dance subdivision, third filing. Paul?
Thank you. This preliminary major subdivision has been reviewed in accordance with Article 4, Chapter 17. The site is located north of Crossroads Boulevard and south of New Liberty Road to the east of County Road 13. Current zoning of the property is residential mixed use with a planned unit development or PUD overlay zoning. The plat encompasses approximately 214 acres. Planned are 233 single-family lots, approximately 143 acres for future development, approximately 3.5 acres for tracts of open space, drainage, access, etc., approximately 15 acres of public right-of-way dedication, and a 10-acre tract for future Weld County RE4 school site. The proposal is in conformance with the comprehensive plan, particularly the goal as well as objectives 1 through 4 of Chapter 5C, Residential Areas Framework Plan, as well as Chapter 5B, Growth Framework, the goal and objectives 1 and 2. There was notification sent for the neighborhood meeting held earlier this year for the project. Staff recommends Planning Commission approve the preliminary subdivision, subject to all Planning Commission and staff comments being addressed with the final plat. Staff requests the following be entered into the record: application, supplemental materials, staff memo, supporting documents, and recommendation. And that's all I have on this item for you.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Comments, questions from the commission?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the preliminary subdivision subject to all staff comments and any comments from the planning commission.
Second.
And moved by Commissioner Talon, second by Commissioner Schinner, that we approve the preliminary subdivision subject to any remaining planning commission or staff comments being addressed on the final plat. Those in favor of the motion will vote yes. Those opposed vote no. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, communications from planning commission. Mr. Animal.
No, sir.
Travis.
No, sir.
Jerry.
Nothing tonight.
Mr. Talon.
Yeah, I have a couple of things. One is that I'm looking at, in the last couple of months, I've had some of the community complain, and also some craftsmen, HVAC, plumbing, and contractors about our inspection department. And I just kind of let it go for a month or two, but then I've gotten about 3-4 more comments that have rolled in the last 2 weeks about the department. It seems like it's changed. I know that Russ moved up the ladder, and so there's new ownership there, new management in there, and it's tending to become a little Gestapo place. You know, they're nitpicking things, and when I've worked with them a lot, you know, if something was wrong, they'd say, hey, just get it fixed, and they come back and check it at final. But they've been flunking finals and stuff because of things. Along with that, what I'd like to do is maybe at this point in time, we look at our size of community and look at maybe bringing it in-house. I'd like to see what that is, because again, that would tie into what I was looking at with contractors coming in, being licensed within the city, so we know who the contractors are, right from plumbing, HVAC, even the landscaping guys have to be licensed, contractors have to be licensed, because we're having problems. I see things all over with handymen going in and doing remodels, and they're subcontracting out. The state requires that if you're doing any kind of subcontracting work, you need to be a contracting agent with the state. So, and we're not following through on our side of it. So if you would take a look at that and maybe get us some numbers of what it's gonna take for a town of ours at 25,000 to where we're gonna be in the next 10 years, and see what we need to do to
Sure.
maybe get that.
So definitely we'll follow up with them regarding changes in inspection activity and those things. And we'll also, I've brought it up, but it hasn't gotten the attention as far as the contractor licensing. Need to continue that discussion. The in-house inspections, we'll also put together some numbers and everything, but just from a preliminary feedback standpoint, I know that just the overhead and customer service would be a big challenge as far as, obviously Safe Built's able to staff up and down depending on our permit activity level. And with the almost 700 homes we issue, well, almost 1,200 homes over the last 2 years, we probably wouldn't have a big enough department to maintain the 10-day or less turnaround time that Safe Built is able to maintain for us. Because if we open up our own in-house inspection department, it's probably not going to be staffed quite at the level that we are able to have with Safe Built. And then there's also the overhead as far as IT and vehicles and space here in town hall or somewhere to house we'd have to have a plans reviewer as well as at least 1 or 2 inspectors. And so we'll definitely do the research and bring something back, because I'm sure the town board has some questions of the same nature. But I'm just, from an initial reaction, I think the trend right now is actually privatization of those types of services. And even some of the bigger communities, Safe Built's performing those duties for Denver and Centennial and really some of the bigger communities in the state right now.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you, what the other communities are doing.
They're actually downsizing their in-house and going to more contract services.
Well, what's happening though is I'm finding that, I'm seeing a turnover in the inspection division.
Sure.
And the problem is that when Russ was running it, we had a lot of plumbers there that we knew, or a lot of inspectors there, and that knew us.
Right.
And, it's like, I'm seeing it now that they don't even, they're coming in and they don't know who the contractors are in town. And, it's just a kind of a frustrating thing.
Sure.
I've had it happen to me a couple of times. I said, okay, they're having a bad day. I'm not gonna worry about it,
Sure.
But when I start getting people calling me, and when I start getting homeowners calling me,
Sure.
then I think there needs to be a shot across the bow to let them know that they gotta clean up their act.
Sure. No, there has been some, I guess, turnover or expansion, so there would be some probably learning curve there that we'll definitely look into it and report back.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. That's it.
Okay. Charles, you have anything?
So, a couple of community comments, concerns, about the density of housing going in and the lack of, a lot of these, tracks are being RMU'd, which allows some general commercial involved, but then they don't put it in. So then all these people have to funnel downtown, or they have to funnel to Loveland, especially up on the ridge, Crossroads. Yes, Crossroads is, 4 lanes now, but you have to go quite a ways to find a grocery store, a drugstore, a bank. You have to come into town, and town, the streets, you can't widen. Well, I don't say can't, but it'd be probably very expensive to widen, to get all the right-of-ways. So even though you're doing RMUs, which allow general commercial, I'd kind of like to see, okay, we're doing big tracks. What kind of commercial are they talking about? Are they just talking about a convenience store, or, something of substance that would serve the neighborhood?
Right.
Now you got the new church up there on Crossroads and County Road 17. That's great. You got a church out there. That's one piece of it. But you need more. And how do we encourage, as a town, that to occur such that, County Road 13 coming down to Main Street is going to just be jammed with, with all the houses on the various developments that are coming out of the ground now.
So the two developments that were on the agenda tonight, both Rain Dance and the Ridge at Harmony Road, they do include some commercial components to them. The Rain Dance commercial area is concentrated primarily at the corner of Crossroads and County Line Road. And it'll probably be one of the later, once the rooftops are there to support the neighborhood commercial. It's kind of like a town center, and Tom could probably explain it better than me. And then in between the second and third filings of the Ridge property, there is a commercial component up there just off Harmony Road. But again, it would probably occur later when the rooftops are there to support it. But we're also looking at ways with the new code update, which is, we're having some struggles getting the language to a point where it's ready for the public and for yourselves and town board. We don't want to waste your time looking at language that still needs to bake some more. So, but we are looking at ways to change or incentivize the RMU to be more mixed use as opposed to just called mixed use, but then it's all single family detached homes. So we're looking at things, not a mandate, but a way to try and incentivize it to be more mixed use. So that is a concern that staff has had as well. But the two projects that we had on tonight do have commercial components. And I guess just to speak to the traffic issue as well, Town Board's agenda Monday night was looking at roadway improvements and prioritization. And like you said, some of those projects that are in town are gonna be a little more challenging, but they're still on the list of priorities. It's just a matter of where that money comes from and prioritizing the budget. But I guess one last thing about that is you had mentioned Crossroads Boulevard, and we're also working obviously on the Brands project, which hopefully will provide some of those services that you're mentioning. That's a little more substantial than just a C-store. That'll provide those services for kind of the southern and western parts of Windsor out there. So
Yeah.
it's coming, but
There'll be some.
Well, it's kind of a chicken and egg thing, right? I mean, if you don't have enough people, you can't do the cost analysis on a store. I understand that is to give that broader picture of, okay, while it's not part of this project, this is kind of the stuff that's developing in that area, so that when people come and, they hear, okay, all this density, there's a little balance to that also of, while it's not set in concrete, the general thought right now is, okay, this corner is gonna be commercial. With this kind of, no promises, right? This kind of content there, which would help people go, oh, the the people who live in that area go, okay, maybe, if the numbers justify it, it's always a business decision, right? From the developer standpoint, of getting some of those services in there.
right.
The other piece of this is with projects the size that we've been seeing the last few months, having an insight to the traffic plan, kind of like tonight. Paul mentioned, Harmony's gonna be widened to 4 lanes in that area. Great, that's a great in play into that, but the traffic light, tell us the whole story.
Sure.
Even though it's a separate project and it's not part of the decision, it helps inform that, okay, people are thinking about these things and it's coming.
Sure.
It's in the pipeline.
What I think,
Charles, your 3 minutes is up.
Okay.
but to that,
Let me get my soapbox out first.
Oh, no.
but to just cap that.
And we can take this offline too, and talk about it.
Not tonight.
Yeah.
But I will, I'll probably follow up with a similar presentation We just had a presentation on the Harmony Road corridor to town board because there were some questions about things in that area. But I did forward the link to the roadway improvement plan to the commission a few
a
months
while
ago
back, yeah.
when it was approved. And that, in the appendix, includes a list of all of the roadway needs. It's over 50 miles of roads and 135 million in improvements. And so that's why the town board's having the conversations about priorities for the budget. But I think it would be a good refresher, when maybe next meeting, if it's a lighter agenda, I can run through that Harmony Road update that we did with town board, and then also kind of give you an overview of the roadway improvement plan. I think that'd be
Yeah,
good.
pick a light agenda night.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be good.
Thanks.
Mhm.
That's it.
That'd be some good information to take a look at.
Yeah.
We're not gonna say if you have anything else, Charles, because you don't.
I've already passed. I've already passed.
Mr. Foreman, anything?
Nothing for me.
Okay. Town board liaison, Ken?
More than I was gonna say. I gotta tell you, I really appreciate those comments. Traffic patterns has been one of my, I hate to say concern, I see it as an opportunity. This town's gone through very rapid growth and very unique projects. It's not just housing, we've got some unique things going on. And so myself and other board members, traffic patterns for our community today and for tomorrow is one of our top priorities. And I was really thrilled, and I give kudos to Scott and staff. Monday night, we had asked for, following our roadway improvement budgeting and plan and accounts, we had asked for some preliminary information on how do we prioritize. You know, there's a lot of things we need to do, but how do we start prioritizing that and stretch the dollars? And the approach they took included the police department, planning, engineering, and public works working together to kind of look at that. And one of the concerns I see is sitting on the planning commission, we see little pieces of things here. You know, at some point that comes on the board, I think. We've got to look at the whole picture, the entire Crossroads coalition with other communities and counties, the entire Harmony Road coalition with other communities and counties. And so those things are in progress. And again, I was really impressed Monday night. The next step for our board is we're getting some more data on cost. The roadways are very expensive with government funds. And some prioritization will be based on cost, where there's, as one person said, where's the most pain for our public, where can we do the most good right now? And where are the opportunities? A development pays about 2/3 of it. So when there's a development coming in, that's kind of an opportunity for us. One more piece of that is opportunities to work with other communities. So there's a lot of things going on here, and our intent as a board is at our strategic planning session, which will be mid-May with the new board and the town manager, we lay out our strategic plan for 2 years at a time. We're finishing up the 2016-18, the next 2 years. We want to identify at least 2 or 3 top priorities for roadway improvement. That was our last conversation. Nice direction of going on that. That was one thing. Okay. There's a lot going on. Second thing, you brought this up too. This is really important. This is part of our conversations about what we're looking for in the new town manager. This community has grown exponentially in a lot of different ways. And we're looking at, one of the things we're looking for in the new town administrator is to help us figure out what is the appropriate structure for a community that's 29,000 right now, maybe going to 40,000, so that we can be effective and efficient in delivering services and being proactive. Growing pains, growing opportunity. So that's a big thing on our agenda too, is to look at what is the appropriate structure. I'm going back to your comment about outsourcing or in-house. We've had some conversations about that. So strategic planning about what's best for this community. Crystal ball, what happens if there's a recession? We stop growing. So you got to be careful about how much town resource do we put into in-house versus how much when do we contract service. So we got a lot of big questions, and we would look for you all for opinions on those things as we grow too. 2 other things, so I'm taking time, but this is really critical. For those of you who live in house districts, town board districts 2, 5, 6, and 7, Mail-in ballots come out Monday, so you should get those early next week, and I really encourage you and everybody else to please vote, please turn those in. The last thing I'll share with you is on Monday night, March 19th, 5:30 to 7:30, Public Works Building will be open to the public meet and greet with the finalists for our town manager position. So please encourage yourself and anybody else to stop in. And we have a little process where you'll have an opportunity to kind of give us a little bit of feedback about your impressions of the.
What was the date on that again?
Monday, March 19th. Candidates are coming into town, the finalists on Monday. We've got a day planned for them, and then on Tuesday, the board will conduct interviews.
So what time was that again?
5:30 to 7:30, Public Works Building. It's an informal drop-in, meet and greet.
Yeah, and if you didn't see the press release, the 4 candidates, I believe, are on the website right
I
now.
don't know if you're
I believe
you said
that,
it was 4, so I wasn't
yeah,
gonna say that.
no, I
I don't know where, I know our consultant's gonna contact them. When did we meet? Monday?
yeah,
So this is, I haven't heard if they'll confirm, but, you know.
and I saw a press release, that's the only reason
Okay,
that I'm
good.
saying anything as well, so,
Yeah, so, yeah.
Okay, anything else, Ken?
Nothing I wanna tell you.
Want to take the opportunity there, huh?
No, there's a lot of really important strategic things
Yeah.
going on for our
Okay,
community, so.
good, thanks for sharing that.
Appreciate it.
Communications from staff. Garland?
Just one, in February, we had a presentation that was made by Greeley Evans Transit to the town board regarding a bus service from UNC through Windsor, 3 stops in Windsor, and then it would end up in Fort Collins. And that presentation was really well received. Greeley would be purchasing a number of these buses. They'd be new, and they asked if the town was interested in participating, and they received the initial okay on that. So we'll let you know how that progresses.
Okay. Melissa? Paul? Scott?
just a couple of things, I guess the one clarification I wanted to make, the developer of the Ridge at Harmony Road came up and handed me this check, right after we
Did you tell us not supposed to do that in public meetings?
And I just wanted to clarify for anybody watching at home that this check is made out to the town of Windsor, and it's for park fees that are due. So,
Ken, would you verify that?
yeah, just want to make sure that everybody understands that this is a check for park fees to the town.
Oh, jeez. I'm going to Mexico.
We're going to Disneyland.
Other than that, they were good comments, and we will take those under advisement, and we'll be coming back with some more information on some of that stuff, so,
Good.
Okay.
thanks.
Move to adjourn.
We are adjourned. Unless Melissa has some. Melissa, Amanda.
It'll take us a year, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
Town manager. Yeah, she'll be the town.